Hello guys, now we shall discuss about the history of amendment of the constitution. History of amendment of the constitution. History of amendment of constitution. So we know that constitution can be amended only by a constitution amendment bill, a constitution amendment bill, or to be more, a constitution amendment bill or act. And we also know that such a constitution amendment act can be passed only with a special majority, which is one of the hardest to get in a parliament. And if a special majority has been attained by the party, the ruling government, they can amend the constitution. Now, let us go back to the history and let us understand the earlier aspects of what the makers of the constitution said. So, Jawaharlal Nehru was of opinion that constitution is based on the aspirations of the Indians. Now, according to him, aspirations cannot be constant. Aspirations always evolve. So, if constitution is based on aspirations, and if in turn aspirations evolve, we should be able to say that constitution should also evolve. So, based on this, Nehru said that constitution should not be a static one and it should be a dynamic one. So, so Nehru said that constitution should be a dynamic one. That constitution should be a dynamic one. Constitution should be a dynamic one. Why? What was the argument? The argument was that it was based on the aspirations of the common man. It was based on the aspirations of the common man. It was based on the aspirations of the common man. And since aspiration changes, what should also change? And since aspiration changes, correspondingly, the constitution which is based on these aspirations should also change. So, constitution based on these aspirations should also change. Or, in other words, we can say further that the constitution should thus show a tendency to evolve and adapt. Now we'll see in detail what do these two terms define, evolve and adapt. Now, what is the opinion of B.R. Ambedkar? B.R. Ambedkar said, if you are not satisfied with the provision of the constitution anywhere in the future, with any part of the constitution, feel free to amend it, but only with one condition: get the special majority. And if you cannot prove the special majority, it simply means that the dissatisfaction that has been seen is only a personal one and it is not a group one or a national one. So, B.R. Ambedkar quoted that if you're not satisfied with the provision of the constitution, amend it. If you're not satisfied with any provision of the constitution, amend it. But how? By obtaining special majority. Which means even Dr. Ambedkar was sure that the constitution needs to be adapted in such a way that in the future the aspirations of the people of India may change And also that at some point of time, some of the provisions of the constitution may feel irrelevant or may feel relevant but required modification so that it can then adjust to the minds of the people at the contemporary time. Then, now, considering these two, it can be very clearly said that the makers of the constitution themselves had a concept of amendment and they have made it very clear and rational. So, in short, we can say that the makers of the constitution itself say makers of the constitution itself say that makers of the constitution itself say that the constitution is dynamic, that the constitution is dynamic, that the constitution is dynamic. So what are we learning now? We are learning about history of amendment of constitution. So we know that a constitutional amendment act has to be passed only with special majority. And since we're talking about history, we are talking about the views of the makers of the Indian Constitution, who in general say that the Constitution is dynamic, and we very clearly see the opinions of Jawaharlal Nehru and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So that concludes the session on history of amendment of Constitution. Now let us see the various case studies which were involved in amendment of fundamental rights of the Constitution.